The Portland Trailblazers. It's not working out very well, guys. They're 16-23, and they're the 8th seed in the Western Conference right now. And as the title of the video says, they have two problems, one of which is the defense, the other is their salary, because they are putting a lot of money into guys who just don't deserve it. And they had an active offseason, signing Evan Turner, matching the offer sheet on Allen Crabbe, signing Festus Ezeli, which hasn't worked out because he has not been able to play. Let's dive into this whole thing. Now, what are the good things about this team first? Well, the good thing is Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, who are two of the best offensive players in the NBA. They're both putting up over 20 points per game, doing it efficiently. Of course, McCollum plays off-ball a little bit more than Dame does, as Dame is the lead guard on this team. But still, McCollum at 4 assists a game. You have two guys who can put the ball on the floor as well as play off of it as well. CJ's three-point shooting has been awesome this year, over 40%, while also taking about 6 a game. That's ridiculous. Dame has been a little bit more down-to-earth at 36% from 3. But overall, these two are great. And it makes sense that these guys still have the 8th best offense in the league, just off the strength of these two, because you start the game with them, and then you can always have one of them on the floor at all times. It works out. Outside of those two, I think the only player I really like is Mo Harkless, who was always a defensive player, given that he's about 6'9", 6'10" as a wing, who can defend shooting guards, small forwards, and some power forwards. And, I mean, I haven't watched every Blazers game. Maybe he can play point guards as well. But his offensive game has really stepped up this year. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 50% from the field, 36% from 3. You can't just ignore him when he's on the floor now, which adds more spacing for Dame and CJ to do their thing, which makes these guys even more dangerous offensively. Another thing I like with Mo is his willingness to attack the basket. He's shooting right at 60% at the rim, which is about league average, which is actually really impressive for a wing, because usually wing players or guards, they shoot a little bit under the league average because it's skewed by big men. So for him to be at 60% is pretty damn good. He is also willing to post up, as if there's a smaller guy on him, he will go into the post. So I really like Mo Harkless at only 23 years old. I could see his offensive game jumping up. And of course, defensively, he's pretty solid as well. But of course, the defense has been a problem for these guys, and I think the only other defender on the team is really Aminu, who has been injured this year, but when Aminu's been in the game, their defense has definitely been better, as he and Mo Harkless has got to be towards the top of the league in terms of defensive forward combos, and that's the type of thing you need to offset Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum just not being that great on defense. But other than those two, man, I mean, the center is Mason Plumlee. I put Plumlee in my underrated players video like a month ago or whatever. I do still think he's a good player overall. It's just when you have, again, a defensive backcourt that's just not good, Plumlee being decent on defense is just not enough, which is kind of unfair to Mason Plumlee, but it's kind of the reality of this team. And he's also still a very good passer out of the pick and roll at about 4.5 assists a game, so that's good. Besides that, it's not the best. Allen Crabbe is being paid about $18 million this season. Crabbe's a good shooter, no doubt. He's not worth $18 million, the reality of restricted free agency in the NBA. He's really like a $12 million player. Evan Turner has just not worked out at all. I'm pretty sure I was supportive of the Evan Turner signing because I thought he could help out Dame and CJ move off ball more. He just hasn't. There's footage on Twitter you can find, or at least that I've seen, where Turner will give the ball up to CJ or whatever, and his defender will just leave him wide open and then go defend CJ in a double team or sometimes even a triple team. And it's not like Turner's going to do anything because he shoots 31% from 3 and 43% from the field, so it seems the sixth man, Evan Turner of the Boston Celtics, is just not a thing, and unfortunately Turner makes about $18 million for the next 4 seasons. Speaking of bad contracts, they have a few more. Myers Leonard is making $9 million next year, $10 million the year after that. He's just not good. Unfortunately, there is the Festus Ezeli situation where they gave him $7 million for 2 years, or $14 million total, if you will. and it doesn't even look like he's going to be playing, so that's more salary that's just being wasted. And that's pretty unfortunate because next season, these guys are going to be at $137 million in salary, which gives you absolutely no luxury whatsoever to do almost anything when it comes to adding pieces to your team. You can't go out in free agency, you don't have a lot of leverage when it comes to trades, the salaries have to be pretty close together, and the only tradable asset you really have that you would be content with trading away would be Allen Crabbe, because I can't imagine anybody's going to want Evan Turner, I can't imagine anybody's going to want Myers Leonard. Crabbe is a good shooter who can play off ball 25 minutes a game, not horrible on defense. Now, what can you really get for him? Ideally, it would be like a defensive extraordinaire at center. I mean, there has been the Allen Crabbe for Nerlens Noel rumors this season. I think that'd be a trade down for the Sixers, even if Crabbe would be like the type of shooting guard they could really use. They're still getting like 80 cents on the dollar for Nerlens in that move. But it's kind of your only option if you want to make a shakeup here, unless you want to go crazy and trade CJ McCollum, which, I mean, you could kind of talk me into, but I would still lean towards no. I mean, in a perfect world, you could trade Evan Turner for the defensive big man, let's just say. But you're going to have to attach something to Turner's contract because he has not been good and he's making a lot of money over the next 4 years. So they have Cleveland's pick this season. It's a high 20s pick. That gives you some leverage, but I don't think anyone's going to take on Evan Turner's contract for that. You're not giving anybody your own pick because there's a chance you're going to be like around number 15 or so, or potentially in the lottery. So it would be more valuable for you to just draft someone with that pick. Or if someone comes along later on, then you do it. But if you simply just want to rid yourself of Evan Turner's salary, do not attach your first round pick to it. And you know what the worst part of all this is? They're at $137 million next season in salary, and Mason Plumlee's contract is up after this year. And you pretty much have to re-sign him because all your other options at center are just not good. Myers Leonard, like I said, is not a good player. Festus Ezeli is hurt. You don't have enough money to go out into free agency and get a center, so you're going to have to give Mason $10+ million to keep him just so you'll have an actual big man on the roster, unless you think Ed Davis can take over the 5 spot. So that's just more money you have to commit. I think these guys, if you can get rid of Evan Turner's contract somehow without giving up anything that's too valuable, awesome. If you could find a way to get rid of Myers Leonard's salary, and I mean Festus Ezeli you can't, then that's great as well. Even with all that, it's going to be extremely difficult for these guys to actually get under the salary cap. So their best bet is they're going to have to hope someone like the Sixers bites on a Nerlens Noel move, which would have to happen this season. I've heard talks of Tyson Chandler. I mean, that's something. He's grabbing rebounds like a madman for the Suns. We'll have to see if he could really make these guys better defensively. Of course, Tyson Chandler of 5 years ago would be awesome. But this team, they're just in a tough spot, man. They're not very good. Even if they go on some sort of run to end the season and being better defensively, which is a big question because they have not been good there all season. I mean, how good are you, the 6th seed? You're not better than the Clippers, the Spurs, the Warriors, the Thunder, the Rockets, the Jazz, or the Grizzlies, so what does it matter? And then they're up to their teeth in salary. Now, I will go back to their first round pick this season. Depending on where it ends up, I mean, it could end up in the lottery, it could end up around 15th or 16th. You might be able to get something for that. And you have a couple of young guys in Noah Vonleh and, well, pretty much Noah Vonleh. Maybe someone will be willing to take him on. He's only 21 years old, even though he hasn't been good. I'm just being optimistic with that. I mean, I'm just trying to find a way these guys can add some defenders, and they have 2 trade pieces. They got Allen Crabbe, and they have the pick this season. Which, to be fair, could actually get you something, but still, it's not fun trading first-round picks when you're not a good team. But then again, if you insert Nerlens Noel into the front court of Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless, that could be a good enough defensive front court to help out CJ and Dame. Another issue is their second unit has not been good at all this season, and trading Allen Crabbe is not going to help that one. and you still have to deal with Evan Turner being on your roster, but it's what you have to work with at this point. So I think I'm done. I just think they have to make a trade, try to get better defensively, because with how good of a backcourt you have offensively, if you could grow into at least a decent enough defensive team, you could really be something. And with how good Damian Lillard is, I mean, hell, I don't know, maybe Dame can carry a team to a championship. But he's not going to be able to do it on this roster where there's just not enough defense. They're in a tough spot right now. Hopefully they can get through it.